Okay, we're live. Welcome to another Nerd Stalker interview. Good morning. This is Greg Gloria, aka Social Greg on Twitter for the Nerd Stalker Media Network. Today we talk with Hessel van Oorschot, the chief noisemaker of Tribe of Noise. And we met Hessel at the SF New Tech event during their Dutch pitch event and wanted to catch up with him here on Nerd Stalker to talk about his business and business model to help indie musicians out there. So, hey, good afternoon, Hessel. Thanks for joining us here on Nerd Stalker live from Amsterdam, Netherlands, right?
Thanks for having me, Greg. It's a real honor to be in your show.
Well, thank you. Let's get into this. We were talking offline, and I got to know you a little bit more. But tell us briefly about yourself, and maybe how you got into the Tribe of Noise.
Yeah, sure. Well, we just discussed this, but your question was like, are you a proper musician? And why are you the chief of noise of a music tribe? I'm not. I'm not a musician. I'm actually my background is in IT and in new business models, exponential growth models. So I like to test drive new business models and help others. The rest of my team, don't worry about it. The rest of my team are musicians, people who hang out in the music space, much cooler than I am, less gray hair, the cool lot. But you have to do it with me today. And how we got started with Tribe of Noise is because we were a bit annoyed by getting proper music into video production. And the easy story is that we had the opportunity to call a friend of mine who worked at a major label. And he said, like, within your budget, within your time limit, no way that I can give you any music from a well-known artist or even an upcoming artist that is signed to our label. And so we had to settle for stock music. And if you really want to, piss me off when I'm working on some high-energy, nice video productions, then it's, ending up with stock music. We ended up with stock music. Cheap solution, but it just didn't feel right. So to cut a long story short, this stayed with me for a long time, and at a certain point, my partner and I said, like, we have to start a marketplace where we can connect proper, well-known musicians with the industry, with videographers, with ad agencies, digital agencies, any professional out there in need for proper music, from artists that are willing to put their soul, their love, their money into a nice production, and who are willing to license that music directly to businesses. That's how we got started, and we started with only 200 musicians.
So 200 is a lot.
200 is a lot, but fast forward to 2015 to today, we just broke the 26,000 members.
Wow. Wow.
From 190 countries around the world. So,
Wow.
One of the things I want to do, Greg, in the near future is have a little contest up and running, because I think we're still missing like 30 or 40 countries around the world, and then we have like musicians from every single country around the globe. So I want to put like a competition out there to find me musicians from countries that are not represented on Tribe of Noise yet.
Well, you launched this in 2008, from what I read, right? And that's a long time. I mean, just in anything these days, it's a long time. But I mean, what was the intention to actually create a community of these people that could get access to this, or there was like a bigger business play to this in the long term? I mean, you've been at it for 7 years, so obviously, it's paid off for you guys, at least kept you guys alive for all these years, right?
Yeah. Well, it's not a charity, first of all. So from day one we were trying to figure out new business models for musicians, and in the process make money for ourselves. So that's the frank answer. The other thing, what we had to do, because this is a chicken and egg story, Greg, I can go out to businesses and say, like, I have this great idea and a vision, and musicians will join you, and you will make beautiful content, and their music will end up in your beautiful video production or wherever. But if I don't have a community to show off with, then at the end they will say, like, bugger off. Here's your coffee. Go somewhere else. So we had to build that community first, and it, of course, took a while, because the toughest thing in the music business probably is gaining trust and explaining to musicians that you don't try to rip them off, that you actually have business models that might work. One of the things we said from the start, and I'm still saying this by the way, is we will never ever charge you money upfront for joining Tribe of Noise or whatsoever. We want a share. When we are successful, we will take a share from the revenue that we make, and the rest is yours.
Very fair.
The other things is never ever sign exclusively with us, because if we're not going to make any money for you tomorrow, then hopefully somebody else is going to do that for you. So, and if we have like several competitors doing exactly the same thing, and if you join all of them, then hopefully every single month there's enough money coming in to make a living. And I will hopefully be able to start making phone calls in a year or so to some of our top artists who are making enough money, so that I can pick up the phone, call them, and say like, you don't have to, but if you want to, you can give up your daytime job because you're making enough money via Tribe of Noise. And those models are in place. Those models are now, scaling. And yeah, we've really done some out of the box thinking, and as opposed to all the platforms that you see out there focusing on consumer markets, we've been focusing on B2B models because we think that's where the money is.
Well, it's interesting as we talked about offline a little bit that the music industry. I go to this thing called SF Music Tech every year. A friend of mine, Brian Ziss, puts it on every year, and some years twice a year. But the music licensing thing seems very complicated to me. I mean, and I think this is kind of like maybe your answer to make it less complicated for these indie musicians, right?
I didn't have it prepared, but there is an image where it shows like it almost looked like a bowl of spaghetti with all the lines drawn to all the rights holders, and it really looks ridiculous and it's very complicated. So what we try to do is start from a scratch of paper and say like you have rights holders on one hand side, you have people with money on the other hand side who want to buy a license. What do we actually need in the middle? And since 2008, since the beginning, we started with 2 legal advisors within our team and 4 law firms, one in the States, one in the UK, 2 in Holland, to test drive the legal framework, like all the ins and outs, like, where is it not going to work? Where is it going to work? What do we have to solve together with performing rights organizations or labels or, any entity within the music space? And that was the hard part, because if you look at, let's take a beautiful service like Spotify or Deezer, what they've done is a beautiful front end layer. The interface, the user experience, the way we consume music, it's beautiful. It's really outstanding. What they haven't done is fix the back end. So all the contracts and the legal framework and everything is still in place from the same old traditional music industry. So that's also probably why you see that the money they pay out to the artists is divided by, some of the money goes to performing rights organization, most of the money goes to labels, other shareholders, and then in the end, depending on the contracts that they have with the musicians, some of their money ends up with musicians. In our case, it was like, let's work with the musicians from from day one. And if they want to allow other folks in between, like their manager or a label or a publishing company, they're more than willing, and if they can comply with what we offer. But the musician is, in control of their own way forward.
Wow. Yeah. And when and the music scene here is just like any other city, right? It has a really local vibe, local thing. And obviously there's been some famous musicians out of the San Francisco Bay Area here to say the least. But I think that, I think to have a path like yours to allow myself to at least contemplate making some money off of some of the creative things that I've done, and like you said, test drive. I like that word, test drive some of those things. It's interesting, but as a person that shoots, semi-pro video. I agree with you. I think I was always frustrated when I went to some of the sites, and then you have this Creative Commons layer on top of things that, okay, you could use my stuff if you decide to just mention me on your creative thing, whatever that is, right? And that's kind of cool, and that's kind of a nice thing. But at the end of the day, like you said, the musician isn't making any money. And on the other side, if you want to go sign with a label, there's all these guys with their hands in the pot, as you're saying. And I'll say it for you so you don't get in trouble. But all these guys with their hands in the pot, and actually that's also like it in Hollywood. It's no different. The infrastructure there is almost the same.
I have good friends who work for music labels and who work at publishers, and they all do a great job, but it's not a very transparent world. Let's put it that way. So just to give you an example, one of the models that we've built is music streaming from our servers, curated by our music department via the internet into shopping malls, stores, bars, restaurants, and all the other places, like a background music service. And because we control the whole pipe in and know exactly that, if my end client is a local bakery around the corner, I know exactly if he's turning to channel 1, channel 2, and what song is being played at that exact time on that exact date. I can also pay out the artist directly for the amount that the airtime that they had on these channels. That whole pipeline in and pipeline out helps me to actually pay for play. Many of the rights organizations and many of the labels and publishing companies, they don't have like an automated system in place or the technology, the IT backbone. So what they do is they will listen to national radio, national television, because they get the playlist from them, and they will say like, that will probably be the same in the Marriott hotels around the world, or your local Tesco's, which isn't the case because they play different music. So that's one of the models, and this is just one of the examples where, and this is only done by we have to test it, because we don't first of all know if your local bakery around the corner is interested in completely unknown but quality musicians. So we have to go out there and do sales and marketing and see if they like it. They do. We have signed with one of the largest telecom operators in the Netherlands, who are now reselling this business model to their end clients, so to their businesses. And then we have to figure out, like, do we have enough music and musicians who are actually can be featured in those music channels as being proper radio stations for businesses, and generate money for them. And the reason why I'm saying test driving is not just us test driving business models and we throw away the ones that didn't work and we keep the ones that do work, but also for musicians. Some musicians, they have beautiful music, but to some ears it's noise, and to some ears it's totally spot on in the right place at the right time, and they pay big bucks for it. And that differentiator between noise and music, that's what I like to call personal opinion.
Exactly. Well, maybe you can share with the Nerdtalker audience, Hessel, some of the, maybe are there examples of some pretty cool things that people have used your music on, either through a creative piece like a video or a movie or something like that you could share with us?
Yeah. Well, a couple of things. So some of the partnerships that I'm really, thankful of and proud of. So one of them is, you probably know them pretty well because you're based in the States, but that's Getty Images. So Getty Images is your number one stock photography service for hundreds of thousands of clients around the world, and big time. Met with one of their founders, Jonathan Klein, and there was a click, there was a link, and what we've done is we are now, together with other music suppliers, are building a new specific catalog for Getty Images with proper high quality real music from real artists, as opposed to the reason why I started Tribe of Noise, stock music. That's what I don't want them to sell, so I have to give them an alternative, and the alternative is, unsigned but well quality, recorded, produced, written, and sung music. So that's one thing. We're doing actually the same thing for, and that's funny because they're actually big competitors. Pond 5, they're also based in New York. They just got I don't know, roughly 60 million venture capital to really grow the company. So it's becoming big. We're rebuilding. That's maybe too big of a word, but we're helping them as well to get premium content, music content on their platform to their customers. So those two things. One of the most recent things that I'm really proud of, and that's, you probably see it in the back of me, but that's
Sonos.
Yeah, that's the relationship we have with Sonos, because I love Sonos. I like technology. Let's put it that way, and they're just killing me with beautiful stuff. And the cool thing about Sonos is that it will enable me with quality music in any room. With Deezer, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, all these great services out there, to listen to that on nice equipment with the interface on my mobile phone. What they actually lacked was a streaming music service for enterprises, for businesses. Mm-hmm. So what we've built is the API connectors and the service on Sonos, so that within the Sonos application you can just launch Tribe of Noise, connect Tribe of Noise to Sonos, and use Sonos equipment in your bar, restaurant, fitness area, all the professional areas, nice. DIY stores, supermarkets. You can start using Sonos there as well. So for them, it's an upskill of selling more hardware. For us, it's an upskill of combining a beautiful brand like Sonos with a Tribe of Noise community with 26,000 artists. And again, fair play, fair pay. So that system is really alive and starts to grow at the moment. So those things I'm really proud of combining a dream, a vision, very talented artists with super brands like Getty Images or Pond 5 or Sonos.
Is there one thing I wanted to talk to you is more on maybe now that we're kind of entering, like some of the business relationships that you guys have had, and it sounds like you guys have something cooking with Getty that looks like it's going to be pretty cool when it all pops out eventually. And that's probably complicated, so it's going to take a little while to pop out. But I like to be there when you guys announce that. But what I thought about it is that you go back to video production again, and which really allowed you to start this business out of frustration, just like any other business does. You're trying to solve a problem. How does like they say, an indie videographer or cinematographer start to use your stuff? Is it a scaled price point, or is it just on a fixed price point? How does that work?
Well, we try to keep it as simple as possible, because actually, basically, what a videographer is doing is trying to finish a project within, before deadline, within the budget. And there are always issues. There's always like a client who's late with their material, or who's not approving it, or it's running out of budget. So they have their own problems. So what we don't want them to do is give them another one, licensing music. So we've made it more simple. We have two options. You've mentioned the Creative Commons licensing schemes. So what we've done from day one is building Tribe of Noise, the community website, based on a commercial version of Creative Commons. Because what we've seen with Creative Commons, and it was very helpful, is to have all these legal advisors around the world that will translate the legal documents into stuff that you and I can actually read and understand in your own language. So that was very helpful. So the community website, any videographer who is okay with using Creative Commons work, even if it's for commercial use, you can. They can go to the community website, start downloading music, and they can use it for free as long as they, give credits to the artist and use similar licenses that we use. So that's more like an engagement with musicians, and also helping them to get free promotion, to get some exposure. But we also, we want to make money at the end of the day together with the musicians. So we have a pro version, Tribe of Noise Pro, which is, according to some, including myself, but I'm biased, according to some, one of the best music search engines that you will find online because of its simplicity. There are a couple of filters that you can apply. It's all curated by real human beings, so it means we couldn't find any scripts doing it for us, so it's done by proper DJs and proper that we call the golden ears of Tribe of Noise Pro. They listen to every single track, they tag it, and you can find it as a video producer. In a few seconds you will find the track that you need. And then the licensing is basically down to only 3 licenses. If you want to use it in a digital production, or if you're working on an indie film with a basic budget, then you only have to pay 200 euros per song for the whole project. Per patch.
All the way.
So we never come. Yeah, so we never come back to you and say hey, your time is up. You have to pay this again. National television campaign, you pay $600, and if you want to use it in a global international thingy, you pay $1,200. Those price ranges are dramatically low if you compare it to major label repertoire, and they're on the high end if you compare it with stock music. But once again, we think that try to compare us with stock music, and we probably always win. So in that end, we could raise the bar a bit. The cool thing is, in that Tribe of Noise Pro environment, what we've added is what we call a virtual briefing center. So if you are this creative person working on a new video for your customer, I don't know, brand engagement video campaign or whatever, and you can't find that specific track, or you find the track but the lyrics are off, or there's something wrong with it, you can brief us by using some forms, and we will shoot it back to 26,000 musicians and ask them to come up with something better for you. And you probably noticed that within a few hours, the first ones start to upload stuff, because they already have it on the shelf and they think oh, he means something completely different. This is what he wants. So we can shoot new repertoire that was already on the shelf. And in some cases, people just go back into the studio, record it with a different lyric, or include your brand name or whatever, or take out the drum beat, and upload a completely new production specifically for your briefing. So that interactivity with the real community sets us apart from stock databases or any music database that only has music files. We can actually tap into 26,000 composers, singer-songwriters, producers, and proper musicians who can work on these bespoke music files for you.
Yeah, I guess that's that's better than any search engine that I know of. So, yeah, I mean, Google doesn't even do that for me. So, I mean, the fact that it'll actually find the right thing if it isn't there. usually with the search engines, they just tell you what's there, and it doesn't tell you that you can get anything better. So, wow, that's fascinating.
That's always what we say. The cool thing is, be careful what you wish for, because people will start shooting stuff back to you. We can as an added service, we can filter that for you, so that we only send you the top 10 or whatever. But
okay. Well, that's not. Well, now you said that it's hand curated. So is there a submission process for these developers, and basically maybe within 2 hours? Because you guys have around the world, you must have operations that are going somehow 24 hours a day, right?
Well, funny enough, it actually works pretty well, although that the team is pretty small. But for example, my CTO, so the guy who's building all the APIs and all the connectors to other databases and stuff, he lives in Japan. I'm based in Amsterdam. We have folks running around in other places. So it does work. Music curation, by the way, is done here from headquartered here in Amsterdam.
Okay.
But yeah, we have tested with some of the smartest people in the world to automate the system of music ingestion, but it just isn't there, And every time if I run into somebody who says I really cracked it, this is the algorithm, this is what you're going to use, we test it for a day or a week, and then we just throw it back at them, like, it's not good enough. We still need human beings to curate your music.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think that, at the end of the day, we're still the fastest computing engine on the face of the planet, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I liked the approach of the guys at Apple Music who are actually acknowledging this.
Mm.
I remember them saying a few years ago, saying like, no, 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 we have these great algorithms and we will work it out and the system will recognize patterns and come back to you. And like when they introduced Apple Music, there were some folks mentioning that personal, real human beings curating the music and making playlists actually works better.
God, that it makes a lot of sense. I mean,
Yeah,
I think we get wrapped around our head that everything has to be an algorithm these days. So it's interesting. It's actually very natural to hear something like that from you, from a person like you that says, "Oh yeah, we do it with human beings." But
exactly.
hey, is there anything new on Tribal Noise that you want to tell the Nerd Soccer audience?
Well, one of the things, and also one of the reasons I was in the States, is because we signed a deal with one of the largest telco operators in the Netherlands, and what it actually means is that uh, you probably have the same thing in the States, but here in Holland, our large telcos, they will bundle Spotify with your mobile phone subscription. And it's for stickiness. It means that as long as you stay around or stick around with their subscription, you won't lose any playlist that you made on Spotify or any stuff. So it makes you more dependent, which isn't a nice word, so that's why it's called stickiness. We have something similar in Holland, but some of the carriers, so some of the mobile operators, they want to take it to the next level, and they also want to offer similar services to business clients. So all the hotel chains and bars and DIY stores and restaurants and franchisees, and you can't do that with Spotify or Deezer or any of the other services because they're consumer-oriented services. Their end-user license agreement doesn't allow it in most of the countries around the world. So that's where we came in and said, like, we can do that with the Tribe of Noise musicians. So it will be a totally different, music experience because the music that you will hear is not Rihanna, it's not, Jay-Z or whatever. It's like completely unknown artists. But for the purpose of, being played and airtimed in restaurants and bars and other places, it's probably more suitable because, we can really curate it down to a playlist that makes sense to the brand or, the whole shopping experience. So we signed a deal with it's called KPN, by the way, the telco. So KPN is now reaching out to their audience with Tribe of Noise repertoire, also included in Sonos. So KPN also together with us and Sonos are bundling it so that we have this big triangle with three brands that can really appeal to the clients. And I want to do something similar in the States. So I want to, reach out to AT&T or Verizon, but maybe even like a completely different company like GoDaddy, who has like so many businesses that are signed to their service for, building a website. Why don't we include, streaming music services that you can just drag and drop a music service into your website, stuff like that. So I'm on the lookout of trying to connect with some of these bigger brands in the States. See if we can align unknown but quality musicians with their service, their cloud service, and it should be a cloud service that you and I understand by just saying yes or no, or if we dislike it after a month, that we can turn it off or can turn it on again after a few months. So like simple cloud-based application for businesses where music is a big component.
Yeah, with 26,000 musicians in your database, you guys are ready to do a concert, I think, my friend. You maybe you should do that. You should do an online concert. Yeah, the Trevor Noise online concert. That'd be kind of cool. I
Well,
don't know. I don't know.
the last time when I was in San Francisco, one of the 26,000 artists in our database is Jeff Campbell. And Jeff Campbell was he was featured on Jimmy Kimmel Live last year. He has been touring the country. He's my big role model because he's this proper indie artist that works hard, does a lot of shows, makes some money, is never afraid of test driving new stuff. He has been supporting Tribe of Noise from the beginning. And he even had to, tell his performing rights organization, like, this is what I do with these tracks. I want to, test drive a system from Amsterdam, Holland. No performing rights organization in America ever knows where Holland is. It's probably the capital of Denmark or something. But his music and his enthusiasm, and he's a live performer. Actually, is now, I'm looking into the idea of just, why don't we record nice gigs that were featured in local bar in San Francisco with just 200 people in there, but we can send it out all over the world, or we can do like maybe setting something up with Google Hangout and have these things live featured as a global Tribe community.
Hey, I'm there with you, man. If you need a Google Hangout videographer, I'm there, man. You just tell me which bar to show up, I'll just shoot it live. That's a great idea. Actually, I don't know what the data is on YouTube, but I'm sure there's a lot of data out there that says, these live performances are really interesting to a lot of people,
I think, again, the whole thing of being surprised. We have I can't tell too much about it, but we are rebuilding a tool that we've launched a couple of years ago, especially for small venues, enabling them to announce gigs on the spot to a wider audience than just the block where they are. And one of the add-ons we're now building is see if we can live stream using security cameras. So everybody has these security cameras, and some of them they use different networks. So why don't we use those security cameras for live recording of small gigs?
Wow, you guys think you're gonna release that by the end of the year or something like that, or you're just?
I'm not sure.
So let me know. I want to break that story. Anyway, I'll let you get going. I know it's getting towards the end of the day there, and I appreciate your time. But anyway, how do people get hold of you and hold of Tribe of Noise?
Oh, quite easy. So Tribe of Noise is tribeofnoise.com. Everybody is more than welcome to sign up for free. If they want to use the music, go to not www, but go to pro.tribeofnoise.com. Also, signing up is for free. Only when you license stuff you have to pay. And when they want to get in hold with me, my first name is Hessel, Hessel, at tribeofnoise.com. So that's quite easy.
And your Twitter handle, I forget. It's a bunch of numbers and an H at the end. I forgot.
Okay, I will give you. So it's 73553 capital H. But if you type it on a calculator, and if you turn the calculator upside down, it says Hessel.
Okay, that's a new one. I've never heard of anything like that, but I love that. That was great. Okay, wow. I'll have to put that into my piece when I'm writing this thing. This is how creative this guy is. But anyway, thanks again. I appreciate that, and hey, good luck to you. And hope let's catch up on a live shoot. Here in San Francisco when you're here next, when maybe you announce this new service that you guys are developing or something like that. So.
Perfect.
All right. Well, anyway, that was Hessel van Oorschot of Tribe of Noise, helping musicians and media professionals connect. And thanks for joining us, everyone. This is Greg Gloria, a.k.a. Social Greg, on Twitter for the Nerd Soccer Media Network, where we believe in tech, startups, design, and you. Thanks for joining us, everyone, and be careful out there. Hey, thanks again, Hessel. Have a great night, huh?
Cheers.